Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back. Today, I want to talk about how to get your ex back in a long-distance relationship. Is it the same strategy as a quote-unquote regular relationship? Is it more difficult to get a long-distance ex back? Well, you're about to find out. But first, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. And while you're at it, tap the bell icon so you'll be notified when a new video is up. All right, so let's first start by defining long-distance relationship, because some people think they're in a long-distance relationship and they're really not. So I define it as being more than 1 hour's drive away. If it's less than an hour, then that is not a long-distance relationship. And those of you that live in big cities, especially Los Angeles, you know that a lot of times it takes an hour just to go anywhere. So an hour is really not that much time. So if it's less than an hour, it's not long distance. Now, in preparing for this video, I realized that I've actually helped many clients get their exes back when they were in a long-distance relationship. And those are actually my most memorable clients because of the distance. And I think, wow, the things they had to go through to be in that relationship, the sacrifices they had to make. I had one client who was in the UK and he got his ex back, who was from France. Another one that was on the East Coast in the US and his ex was in the Midwest. Another one comes to mind, he was on the West Coast of the States and his ex was in Europe. So they were really dedicated to being in relationships with these people, and I'm happy to report that I helped them get their exes back. And it is a process. It's not something that's going to happen in a week or two. That's why I often suggest coaching, so I can help you make the right moves at the right time and not mess up, because it is more difficult because of the distance. And in fact, I have an email from a woman who is in a long-distance relationship that I'm going to be reading later, and I'm going to be telling her what she needs to do to get her man back. So I want to talk about long-distance relationships for a minute here before I tell you how to get your ex back. And the first thing I want to say about a long-distance relationship is that you should avoid it as much as possible. Avoid it like the plague, unless there's a clear plan to move to the same city sooner rather than later, or unless the person is amazing, and I do mean amazing. I was actually talking to two different guys earlier this year, and one was in a different state and one was in a different country, but they were both going to be moving to Los Angeles. However, when I found out that the one that was in a different state, it didn't seem like he was going to be moving. He seemed to be getting more involved in his work there and didn't mention moving. So then that's when I bailed, because I personally don't believe in long distance relationships. I don't want to put myself through that. But hey, if it works for you, go for it. Now, if you haven't met yet and you were just talking, you met online, then the odds of getting together are a lot lower, because they don't really know you. They have an idea of who you are, but they don't know the true essence of who you are. So you're not even really quite real to them. So it's going to be easier for them to just walk away since you were just talking. That's why if you do meet someone online, you want to meet up sooner rather than later. And if you've only met up once or twice, that also makes it difficult. Again, you don't really have anything established there that you can lean on. But we can only try, right? So as I've said in all my other videos, you have to do no contact as soon as possible. And if this is the first video of mine that you are listening to, then I suggest you check out my no contact playlist, and I will put that in the link below. So no contact doesn't change just because of the distance. You still have to leave them alone and do no contact and let radio silence do its thing. Now, the only problem, though, with no contact is that it's easier for them to not be in contact with you, because long distance is inherently a modified form of no contact, since you can't see each other every day or every weekend. And that's why it's more difficult to get an ex back if they're long distance, because they're already used to not usually having you around, to being without you most of the time. So the only thing they can really miss are your texts, your calls, your FaceTime sessions, and that's why you want to do no contact as soon as possible until you hear from them. In the meantime, use social media to show that you're not sitting around crying and you are out enjoying life, but don't overdo it. Do not make it obvious. Now, when they contact you, and if you do no contact, there's a high probability that they will, you need to meet up sooner rather than later. However, they need to suggest it, not you, because you want to know how interested they really are, or if they're just calling to check up on you since they haven't heard from you. However, do not fly to them or drive to them. Remember, they broke up with you, so they need to come to you. You want to know how sincere they are about getting back together. I talked in another video about a girl who heard from her ex, and it was long distance, and he offered to fly her to New York, and she accepted, unfortunately, because then when she went back home and she didn't hear from him again. So he wasn't really sincere about getting back together. So she should have waited and said, no, you have to fly to me. Not necessarily in those exact words, but she should have made it clear that he needed to fly to her. So finally, as I mentioned before, in order for a long-distance relationship to work, there needs to be a plan for someone to move as soon as possible, because otherwise, sooner or later, the relationship has to end. It's just not sustainable over a long period of time. So let me go into this video, not a video, but email from this woman who is in a long-distance relationship. I thought I'd take this opportunity to help her out. Okay, so she says, I'm 57 and my boyfriend is 58. I've been with him for 3 years in a long-distance relationship. We live hundreds of miles apart and we love each other very much. Earlier this year, a woman he's known since childhood came into the picture. She's tried to dissuade him from continuing our relationship in every way she can, asking him out, sending provocative pictures, etc. He said he wasn't interested. I tried to tell him to cut off contact with her, but he said he felt sorry for her. Shut up. Yeah, right. Oh, I feel sorry for her. I don't want to deprive her of the ability to send provocative photos. Stop it. Given the distance, this made me more anxious and suspicious when I couldn't reach him. No, given your attachment style and your interest level and your insecurity, that's what made you anxious and suspicious, because he could have lived 5 minutes away from you and you would feel the same. We started arguing and trust issues were being brought up. So now you're playing right into her hands. She's trying to get him away from you. You start arguing and, well, as she said, long story short, he broke up with me 4 months ago. Within 2 weeks, he was posting pictures of the two of them on social media, which tells me he was probably already seeing her. And he just wasn't posting anything because he was with you. And that's why it was so easy for him to break up with you. The woman started calling me and threatening me to stay away from her man. That's my man. Which tells me she's insecure, which actually is a good thing for you. She has a pretty tight leash on him, and you know this how? She blocked me from all his social media. How do you know it was her and not him? I spoke with him last 3 weeks ago. He said he still loves me and thinks about me all the time. Yet here we are. Yes, here we are. Still not together. She's there with him. Is there any hope? Okay. So I'm going to tell this woman to do something that I usually don't tell anyone to do. And it goes against everything I've said in all my videos. However, rules are meant to be broken, but I just want to clarify that this is just for her in this particular situation with this particular set of variables. It's not for you. Yes, you listening. Do not try this at home. Do not do this. This is not for you. But in this situation, I'm telling her to break all the rules. And I'm basically going to say that she needs to stay in contact with him and be friends. Why do I say this? Because the other woman is insecure. That's good, because insecure people make mistakes. So we want the other woman, the girlfriend, not the other woman now, to make as many mistakes as possible. And in order to get her to make as many mistakes as possible and hopefully have the guy break up with her, she needs to feel threatened. And in order to feel threatened, then this woman who's writing me needs to be in the picture. She needs to be in contact with her ex-boyfriend, much as the other woman was the person that made her anxious and distrustful and had her argue with her then boyfriend, and then he broke up with her. So now we're going to turn the tables around. So she needs to stay in contact with him, pretend she just wants to be friends. She's going to be the understanding ex-girlfriend. Yes, I understand. We had some issues, and I see that you're happy, and I'm happy for you, and I would never want to come between the two of you. Hear the sarcasm in my voice? And then you're going to say something like, and I just don't understand why your ex would block me on all the social media. So you're going to try to discredit her and make her look kind of crazy. It's like, well, I'm happy for the two of you, and I wish you the best. I don't know why she would block me. So again, I'm telling you to do something I would normally not tell someone to do, and that is you're going to play victim a little bit. Like, you're just the innocent ex-girlfriend, and you don't understand why the other woman's behaving this way because you're not doing anything. And also what you want to do is you want to text him at night on a weekend when you suspect he might be with her, and have a good reason for texting. Because again, the hope is that she'll see the text, or he'll get the text, and she'll find out about it, and they'll start arguing. We want them to argue. We want them to fight, and we want them to break up. So right now, that's the plan. But I would really need to speak to her to find out more, to see what else can be done. So this is the plan for this long-distance relationship. It might work for your long-distance relationship. I don't know. It probably won't. But if you want to find out, you can always contact me at theartoflove.net and find out about private coaching. In the meantime, if you're in a long-distance relationship, feel free to comment below and tell me what the distance is and how long you've been broken up. And in the meantime, if you're listening on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. If you're on iTunes, I would appreciate if you would rate and review the podcast. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.